Hello, everybody, and welcome to Double On Radio Weekly. This week, it's episode number 17. We're chugging along. I'm your host, Ryan, and today I'm joined by the entire gang. We've got Wyatt.
Hi.
We've got Alex.
Hey there.
We got Ben.
Howdy, how are you? I'm sorry. I have a mic meter.
And we've got Brett.
Preemptively apologize.
Hello!
There we go. Everyone's intro. Now we can start the show. We're going to be talking about the Xbox Game Showcase, as you can tell from the title of the episode.
That was just in case you can't read.
Yeah, that was in
Okay.
case you can't read, which is
Just-
totally fine.
A little goof before the game speak comes in. I just did a little heart thing with my fingers to my girlfriend, and she flipped me off. So
It's just natural.
yeah,
That sounds like a you problem and not a podcast problem. Okay.
Ben,
Anyway.
we
Leave it
have
outside.
a goof. We have a goof built into the show
let's-
already
let's
that we
goof
have
it.
to do.
Let's goof it.
It's called the game that we do at the start of every show, and and this game
This
is
is a
called
game we do.
what? What were you
The
gonna
game
say?
we do every show except not every show.
Every show
more
we've
just
not
like when-
missed a show.
Every main
The
show.
only show we
don't do
didn't do
for
it in
Games
is the
Club.
show where we instead took the time to talk about Black Lives Matter, because guess what they do, and
Oh yeah.
it was an important issue, and still is.
Anyway,
all right. So
get
now
us
we have
into
the
the
game. We have the game. We're talking about Xbox and what's Microsoft's most important franchise. You could argue that it's Banjo-Kazooie, but in reality, it is Halo.
Forza.
Oh.
Yeah,
Knack.
Forza.
Oh,
I thought it was Psychonauts actually.
Well, I thought it was Rise, Son of Rome, though.
Okay, but for real, that game is actually kind of sad.
All right, so this game's called the original Halo trilogy, but it's actually every Halo game ever, and I want you guys to tell me how many Halo games there are. This is just take a guess. Take a guess at how many Halo games are released and recognized on the Wikipedia page.
Oh, Wikipedia. Oh.
11.
So this is, I will say this is not the actual number of Halo games, because I'll give you a hint. Combat Evolved Anniversary and Master Chief Collection are counted as their own entries into the Halo series.
Why?
Oh my God.
Why? Because we're doing this the difficult way. So I need a number. I need a number between 1 and 20. That's your
11.
range. All right, Alex says 11. Wyatt, what do
Didn't
you
I
say?
say 11?
Alex says 11. Ben, what do you say?
I think I said 11.
All right, so you both said 11.
I guess 13.
Okay.
I'm gonna hit you with a solid 10.
A round
Hmm.
number. I like it.
underbidding. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. We got some, so all of you are wrong.
Good.
Oh.
Good.
Every single one of you shot under. There are
Oh, really?
15 Halo
Oh.
games.
Oh,
We
What?
could cut it down and land at 13 if we cut out the updates to Halo Wars and like the weird like Halo Fireteam Raven. I don't even know what that is.
Those don't
What?
It's
count.
listed on here.
See, there's
like
two that you guys
Spartan
missed.
in there.
There's two that you guys missed. You missed the two mobile games.
No.
I'm
No,
looking
they're
at the
collecting
Wikipedia,
mobile.
and Halo
Okay, well.
Fireteam Raven is in fact on here.
oh God.
Listen, I'm a real gamer.
We
you know?
could cut out if we cut out the remasters, remakes, and the Fireteam Raven and Recruit. We still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games.
Which is more than 5.
Which is more than 11, which is the highest you guessed.
I guess
We
13.
were
What are you
including
talking about?
Halo Infinite in this because it's on the list, even though it's not
Oh,
out yet.
I didn't include Halo Infinite. Okay.
Yeah, well, you're still not close, so it doesn't matter.
I
all
was
right.
the closest though.
Were you? Yeah, I guess you.
I said 13
You were the
You
because
were.
I
closest.
counted the two mobile games. Guys, not know how this game works?
and that is it's because Halo Wars and the weird like top-down Halo shooters are counted as main Halo games.
Which I've actually played one of those.
They're not
before,
bad.
Believe it or
They're
not.
not bad.
For like mobile twin stick shooters, they're not that bad.
Yeah, they're fun time wasters, and they're also like $5, and they're on Game Pass for free. So, feel free to play them. All right, so now we have the actual show where we're gonna do. If you've seen our PS5 showcase, it's the same format. We have basically a 2 to 3 minute limit on every game that we're gonna talk about. It's a little adjustable because there's some games that there's not really much to say.
Some games, yeah.
One of the
gameplay
games is
and some
Watch
of them
Dogs
didn't.
Legion, and we can just say, go watch the Ubisoft stuff because this trailer didn't tell us anything. So, all right. We're going to kick it off. We're doing the entire Xbox show, including the pre-show, because they announced a bunch of stuff during the pre-show, which was an odd decision, but it's what they did. So, we're going to kick it off. Dragon Quest XI-S coming to every console and Game Pass. That's the notable thing, Game Pass for this game.
Yeah.
Because Dragon Quest XI-S, if nobody... I don't think any of you guys have played it.
Nope.
No.
It is an extremely good JRPG. One of the better... It's up there with Persona 5 for like the best JRPGs of the last few years. Definitely worth playing. The definitive edition is great because it lets you you can swap between 8-bit mode and 3D mode whenever you want. Really cool.
Oh, sick.
Neat feature.
Is it, this is a new Dragon Quest.
No, so Dragon Quest XI came out a few years ago.
Okay, yeah, that's the one.
This is the
you were
special
playing,
version
and I
that
was
came
like,
out
wow,
on the
this
Switch.
is Dragon Ball Z, the JRPG.
Yeah, it's design.
Okay.
All the character designs are done by Akira Toriyama, not Toriyama. Yeah, it's a good game. Definitely worth playing if you have Game Pass because it'll be free. So, yeah, that's everything to say there. If you want to know more about that game, just look it up because there's tons of reviews. It's been out for years. So, then we saw something cool. We saw Exomecha.
So I had a funny experience watching this trailer because when it started, I was like, this looks like the most generic. Like, this literally just looks like Crysis, but not made by Crytek. And then they started introducing robot dragons and giant robot knights. I was like, all right, this looks pretty cool, actually.
Yep. And it's free to play. Free to
Yeah.
play. Like, what?
Yep.
I
I
think
would
the
say-
visual design of this is really something cool.
Wait. I'm watching this for the first time right now because I didn't.
You didn't watch the pre-show
did your
stuff?
homework.
No, I didn't. Hey, listen to me.
Ben,
Ben, you were
I-
told to watch the pre-show
I
multiple
know.
times.
I got
Ben,
caught
we're
up.
trying to keep things professional around here, and you're not allowing us to do that.
All right,
And if that's going to be a problem, we're going to have a discussion about this off air.
We will
okay?
have words.
I
All right.
I could have lied. I could have lied through my teeth, but I
You
was
should
honest
have.
with you guys, and I did
You
not.
also could have watched all this stuff beforehand.
All right,
Anyway.
all right. We're talking about games. We're talking about Exomecha.
The reason I said that is I'm looking at it for the first time, and I literally just had the exact same path of emotions as you. I was like, oh, this
Yeah.
is kind of just like a weird, janky looking Crisis, and then there's like a fucking
Yeah.
Transformers robot, fucking looking Pacific Rim, like giant mech where you're fighting each
It
other. And one
catch-
had a shield and an axe, and like,
It completely catches you off guard because you're like, all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And then like, holy shit.
It looks like
does
fun.
still look kind of jank.
We have no clue how far along this is. We got a date of 2021, but that's a whole year. So we don't know how close to release this footage is.
Also, no UI, which
Yep.
is always kind of frustrating.
All right, so then moving on, we're hitting our time limit for that game. We got Watch Dogs Legion. I think we can all agree that if you want to learn more about Watch Dogs Legion, just go watch the Ubisoft thing, because this really
Yeah.
told us nothing. Cool trailer, no new information, no new gameplay.
Yeah.
All right, then we got Echo Generation, which is a voxel-based, or at least a voxel visual style game that feels very Stranger Things.
hmm
Looks pretty cool.
Art style's cool. Like turn-based, adventure games like this is not really my jam, but the art style is super cool.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how the turn-based stuff plays out.
hmm
This is another one where we don't have a specific date. We have 2021, so yeah, it could be. It looks pretty far along. We didn't see anything that looked incomplete. We saw UI, which is always a good sign.
Yeah. I honestly could play this game on the art style alone. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if anyone here has heard of the game called The Tourist, but it's got a similar art style, and it's really, really cool to look at.
And I'm not even the art style, but that boss design, the one that jumps falls
Yeah.
down,
Oh,
yeah.
is so
Yeah.
good. That is
The Spider
awesome.
Mechs are cool too. All right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So moving on, we have Hello Neighbor 2. The first game had some rough patches,
Hmm.
and I think has ended in a place that's maybe not great. But the trailer for this at least sold me on it being pretty cool. I don't really know what's going on, but It looks neat. Visual style of the
What's
city looks really
happening?
really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know a thing about Hello Neighbor, and that little like sting at the very end where the guy's throwing the costume in the oven. I feel like was supposed to be some kind of like reveal, or at least that's how it felt. And I didn't know.
I
who
think
this
it's just
person
that that's
is.
the same guy from the first game.
Oh, is it? Okay, that's how much I know about.
I
Hello
think.
Neighbor.
Again, yeah. We're
I'm
not the
like-
best people for this.
I'm a sucker for like crow mask looking things, so I think that looks cool. But just like looking at the gameplay that they showed, it looked so janky and broken at some parts, and I just like that's what you're gonna show off. I don't know.
Yeah, the part where he was like crowbarring the window, you could just see it clip
Yeah.
through the wood. It was
And we also have
It's a
no idea how
trailer,
far along this
polish it.
is as well. We
Yeah,
just have a
that's true.
2021 release date, and it also, my bet is this is going to release into early access like the first game.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing like pre-alpha footage. All right,
True.
it's also this is the pre-show, so their qualifiers for stuff are pretty are less than the main show. You would think. Then we have ID at Xbox. So this is Xbox's like indie dev showcase essentially. There were a bunch of games announced. There were a bunch of games we've already seen shown. This is one of the situations we don't have time to cover every one of these because there's like 20 other things we have to talk about. So standouts. I know Wyatt and I both like the Falconeer. Anyone else have other standouts they want to mention?
that that game where you're like you play guitar and you're trying to figure out your like stage persona.
Oh
You're
yeah,
going through this like
Artful
crazy
Escape.
something like that. That looked kind of cool.
I know the lake is something that people have been looking forward to for a while as well. So yeah, it's a really cool showcase of all very good looking indie games. Definitely give it a look.
And this snowboarding game looks like a AAA.
Yeah,
snowboarding
Shredder is
game.
definitely. It looked like Steep too. Wyatt made that
Yeah.
joke earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm down for.
very cool indie games, but that's pretty much everything from that. If there's any standouts, so yeah, we got Sable. Sable is I think the
love
one that a
what
lot of
that
people are
looks.
interested in. From what we saw
Tunic
last time.
too.
Tunic as well.
I'm interested in Tunic.
But those two games were announced a while ago, so it's not like we're
Yeah.
seeing them for the first time. Then we got the game that I think is in a weird situation because it's not in the main show for some reason. We have Balan Wonderworld,
Yeah, that was interesting.
which, so if people aren't aware, the developers behind this are essentially the team of a game called Nights into Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And that game is pretty well received. You can still play it on like Steam. It's an older game, but it's a really interesting take on platforming. So I'm excited to see where this goes. And they showed gameplay, which is always a good sign.
Yeah.
And we have a little more certain date of spring 2021. So fairly soon. Not that far off.
The only thing that, because I don't know anything about this at all, but one thing that stood out to me was like, wow, this game looks really pretty. With the exception of like the human character designs, they literally look like rat
Yeah.
dolls, and it was just super distracting. And it
Yeah,
was
that's
kind of
just that's this guy's art
not
style.
a fan.
100%. That's
All
just
right,
his
all
style.
right, fair enough. Everything else looks so cool, and just the human character design just wasn't.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, you can definitely tell it's made by the Sonic. Some of the Sonic team is on this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's where a lot of that design comes from. Yeah, it looks very interesting, and it is a weird game in that it's something that looked finished enough to have shown in the main show that we didn't see it in the main show. I definitely think it could have taken the place of one of the random CG trailers that we saw. So
I was
Yeah.
gonna say a game that
Agree.
has gameplay is better.
yeah, we would like to
than
see more gameplay in showcases, please.
a
PlayStation
CG
showed us
trailer
gameplay,
of a game that comes out in 3 years. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll talk more about that at the end.
Speaking of gameplay,
Speaking of gameplay, we got 8 minutes of Halo Infinite.
and it's Halo. Oh my god.
It looks
Is
like
it
a
though?
new
It's
Halo.
really.
So visuals aside, because I feel like what a lot of people have been focusing on.
Yeah, also caveat
I
on
thought-
this, we do know this demo footage was from January.
Yeah.
And apparently there was something like a lot of their lighting wasn't working for this demo either. Apparently. I don't know if that's been confirmed or not.
Yeah,
But-
we'll talk more about like the
I've heard-
visuals at the end.
Yeah.
when we
Yeah,
have
but
done
I think
everything.
it looks promising. I think it's like pacing and gunplay definitely looks like older original trilogy Halo, which is what people have been asking for. So
Yeah, especially the
think-
visual design of the characters looks a lot
Yep.
closer to the original trilogy than Halo 5.
Yep.
Which is interesting. It's a cool take on Halo that I'm looking forward to seeing. So, any final words about Halo Infinite, which we'll definitely talk more about at the end of the show. We just want to get through all the games.
I will
Any
speak
glaring
later.
issues? All right. Hold your tongue.
I have a lot to say.
I've never cared about Halo, so that's my opinion on it. I don't know.
Did the
It's
trailer
another
at least
shooter to me.
interest you at all?
No, I don't.
Oh.
I'm not gonna buy it. I'm not gonna play it.
I mean, it's on
It's a
Game Pass.
Halo
so
game.
far. It's
I mean,
neither.
I've,
all right.
It's not. It's nothing against the game itself. Like I'm sure it looks like it's probably gonna be a
Just
a
not your
fine
jam,
Halo
yeah.
game. I've just
Not your
never
jam, yeah.
really been into Halo games. That's all.
Yeah,
All right.
fair enough.
So then we saw State of Decay 3, which this is one of those games where we saw basically nothing. It's a CG trailer of a deer that's a zombie. All
yeah,
right.
but that's badass.
It's badass, but it's State of Decay 3, and having played State of Decay 2 recently, I really want to see UI and gameplay to know if they're moving forward compared to where they were at before. So
Mhm.
that's what I'm concerned about with State of Decay, especially because the team is like growing in size, and this is their first like super highly funded game. I believe this is an Undead Labs is making
So-
this. So
Hopefully, that means that they can work the kinks out.
I mean, State of Decay 2 is a
finally make the
super
game they want it
interesting
to be.
game. It just feels very indie.
Yeah. Same with State of Decay 1.
Yeah.
They're both.
State of Decay is an Xbox property at this point, or like it's
It is, yeah.
associated with Xbox.
Well, they're an Xbox
Yeah.
Studio now.
Yeah.
So it
So
is an
hopefully
Xbox
they
property.
get the time and money to make the game they want to make.
Yeah. No release date for this, so it's probably not a launch game. It probably will be coming out sometime in 2021, 2022. It's my bet. Then we saw Forza Motorsport, not Horizon. Important distinction. Forza
Mhm.
Motorsport is Xbox's like Gran Turismo, essentially. It's their mainline racing game. Yeah, circuit racing specifically. Looks like Forza.
Cars.
and
I think if you're into Forza, you will like this game.
Yeah, it's Forza. Like I haven't played a lot of Forza. I'm not a big racing person, but it seems consistently like Forza is like a very reliable racing series. Like you're going to get a good amount of content. You're going to get good controls. You're going to get whatever visuals on whatever Xbox can crank it out. It's going to look good.
Yeah,
So
like Forza
it's
Horizon
probably
4 looks beautiful. It's
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's just gonna get better.
It's probably their most like dependable franchise in terms of like it's consistently reviewing well, making money. So that's probably
Yeah.
where they put a lot of their focus.
an interesting no release date for this, so probably not a launch game, which I think will surprise some people. But yeah, that's our Forza talk. One thing to mention here that we didn't mention at the start: all of the games shown, at least in the main showcase, will be coming to Game Pass. I don't know if that extends to the pre-show. It very well could, but I don't want to say that like all those indies are coming to Game Pass if we don't know.
It will be cool.
It would be great. Like if I can play Sable for free, I'm totally in.
Oh, hell yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
all the mainline games will be coming day and date to Game Pass, which means launch day.
We
So,
should talk about Game Pass after we get through.
Yeah,
the-
we'll probably do a
some-
whole talk about Game Pass in another episode because there's tons of stuff
Definitely.
to say about it.
It's ridiculous. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, any last words on Forza?
I'm good.
Nope. Great.
Cars.
Moving on. Cars. We saw Everwild. So Everwild looks great. We still haven't seen gameplay. No release date. Thoughts?
We don't know what kind of game they're making. I mean, it looks gorgeous. This world is really interesting,
Yeah.
but there's nothing to go off of, really. So
And I think this is also a good point to bring up. So I think part of the reason people are a little bit not on board with the Microsoft showcase, what we're talking about, is that in the Sony showcase, everything they showed was running on PS5 hardware.
mhm.
A lot of this stuff is either not, or it's just CG rendered trailers. So the Halo Infinite footage we saw, I believe they said it was running on a PC.
Of equivalent
Yeah,
specs,
of
but,
equivalent
like,
specs to a
but-
Xbox Series
Okay,
X, but that doesn't inspire a ton of confidence.
Yeah, really.
It doesn't to be honest, it doesn't bother me that much because a lot of these games are coming to PC as well.
Yeah.
So it's not really a detail that bothers me that much. It's a little strange that they weren't more clear about that. I think
Yeah.
like making it more clear cut that that's what we're seeing would have been appreciated. But because Xbox is more about like launching games on their console and their Windows platform, I don't really see it as an issue, to be honest.
A good point. It's definitely it's more on brand for Sony to do the whole it's running on a PS5 thing, because for Xbox it doesn't quite matter as much.
Mhm.
All right, so Everwild sounds like we're pretty much done with it. It
All
looks great.
all I know is that I want that big dog with a tail that rips the tree down, and if I can't have that in the game, well,
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do.
I do
with
think
it
when
because
Wyatt
that's
and I were
exciting.
watching this, we were like, it looks like Spiritfarer but 3D.
Mhm.
So definitely
I'm
interested. I just want
need
to know
what it is as a game. Yeah.
All right, then we saw Tell Me Why, which is Don't Nod's new thing, and this is coming soon. It's coming August 27th.
Mhm.
So, yeah, you can play it if you have Game Pass, which is cool. Again, we don't know a lot. I know we mentioned while this trailer was happening, the music was very intense for what was going on.
Yeah.
It feels Life is Strangey, or at least how the story will, turn and get that
Mhm.
more.
Yeah.
Same developers. so.
My biggest concern is because I typically like this style of game, but I wasn't a huge fan of God, I forgot the name already. My brain is not
Life
working
is
today.
Strange.
Yes, thank you. My God, I wasn't a huge fan of Life is Strange
30
because I wasn't. I know. But I wasn't a huge fan of the writing, so I'm a little. I mean, it's on Game Pass, so I'll try it. But like, I wasn't a huge fan of their writing, so I'm a little concerned if that carries over into this project at all. So.
And there are tons of people that do love Life is Strange, and if you do like
Yeah.
Life is Strange, you'll probably be perfectly at home with this game.
Yeah.
And any last words on Tell Me Why? Sounds like a
No.
no.
What was it called? What's it called again?
What? Anyone have anything they want to tell me about Tell Me Why? Yeah. Also, this game was announced a long time ago. This is not the first time we've seen this.
It's the first time I've seen it. I don't remember.
It was shown briefly
I mean,
at
that doesn't
E3.
surprise anyone, but I don't remember it.
Yeah. I think we saw like the logo at E3 a while back, so we hadn't seen like footage of it, but
Ooh.
we've definitely known it was in development. Then we got a brief little thing about Ori and how it's going to look better. We don't need to talk about Ori. That's not what the show's about.
It's Ori.
It's a great game.
Yeah.
Go play it. You can play it right now. You don't need to wait for an Xbox Series X. All right, then Obsidian had their little blowout, showing some cool stuff they're doing. First, we saw Outer Worlds DLC, The Peril on
Yeah.
Gorgon.
I'll probably go back to that. I'd like to scratch the Outer Worlds itch again. That's a good game.
So would I.
Yeah, I love the first game. So
Also,
any new
DLC
content
comes
is
out
great.
very soon, September 9th, and is $14 or not $15, $14.99. So yeah, good price. Seems like it's gonna be a fun bit of an excuse to go back to the Outer Worlds.
More Outer Worlds. Who can complain?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun.
All right, pretty simple. Then we saw Grounded. So Grounded is Obsidian's first foray into open world survival crafting.
First foray into Rust clones.
Yeah,
Except Rust.
to not RPGs. Yeah, so it comes into Xbox Game Preview, which is essentially early access, in 2 days. One day if you're listening to the podcast.
Oh
on
my god, I
April.
didn't even
So,
realize.
I
on
didn't
July
realize.
28th. If you have Game Pass, you can play it.
I'll give
I'm-
it a go.
Yeah, I'm not really into this genre that much, but this setting is interesting enough for me to give it a try.
For me, the genre is just tired. You can,
Yeah,
like,
and the setting for anyone
when
listening
did-
is Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Pretty
Yeah, pretty much.
it's literally Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, it's backyard shenanigans as a tiny human.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen since the movie, so I'd like to revisit that feeling.
Yeah, I'm just super curious as to like how hardcore this is gonna be,
It can't be
Mhm.
crazy. I feel like it's going to be.
because Obsidian
much
is like tends to be pretty hardcore with their games. So
Right, but the aesthetic of this looks very much more lighthearted.
you could
and
say it looks more
casual.
grounded.
I could say it
All
looks more
right.
grounded, but
Well,
I think that's enough. I think it's enough.
Yeah, that's enough.
I think
All
we
right,
need to move on.
podcast
Let's move
still
on.
allowed?
Oh my god.
can I leave the podcast midway through? Is that allowed?
Just ruin everything like that just because I'm upset.
All right.
Yeah.
Then we saw. I think this was for a lot of people a highlight. Avowed, which is a
Yeah, too bad it didn't have
first-person
any gameplay.
fantasy RPG from Obsidian. Probably not in development that long because we just got in a
Yeah.
CG trailer with no release date. So
So Avowed, aka God damn it, if Bethesda isn't going to make another Elder Scrolls game, then we will.
yeah, absolutely.
And you know what,
We're tired of waiting.
based on the Outer Worlds versus Fallout 4 and 76, they might do it better.
Yeah.
Certainly could.
This is the perfect time for them to do that because everyone
It
wants
is because everybody's like,
Yeah.
"What are you doing?"
They also-
Releasing
so
Skyrim
even if-
10 times.
Even if you aren't interested in Pillars of Eternity, this game is set in the Pillars of Eternity world. So it's a new game. It's not a direct continuation in any way, but it'll pull in fans from that existing series. So they have an audience already, which is good to know.
smart.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
I think it's
I'm
gonna
very excited for this.
It's going to be a good game.
Yeah, and Pillars is a great fantasy setting. So the nice thing is they don't have to spend a ton of time doing world building because they already have it.
Yeah.
Which is always a huge time sink with RPGs. So hopefully it comes out sometime in the next 3 years.
Obsidian
Cross your fingers.
Yeah.
Obsidian knows
race
what they're
now.
doing with RPGs.
It's also
Yeah.
it's surprising Obsidian's working on like 3 separate projects right now. Which I think is the most they've been doing
They-
at once in a
Yeah,
while.
they went from making a Fallout game for Bethesda to making their own stuff. 3 of their own games in like, well, how long?
They've
has it
released
been
like
since
10
New
games
Vegas
in
came out?
in the time Bethesda has released Fallout 76.
How big
Yeah.
is their team that they can spread it between those 3 games?
It's
just
not
feel
that,
like-
it's not that huge. Maybe they've been hiring a lot.
I feel
I
like
think that-
76 or not 76. New Vegas was definitely like a boost. For
Yeah.
that studio. Like,
And
that
I
was-
think the grounded team is pretty small in comparison to like
Yeah,
the
I
Outer Worlds
imagine-
team and the Avowed team. Yeah.
I imagine, and then most of the Outer Worlds team is probably over on Avowed now too.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Because it's probably a skeleton crew doing DLC. And then
yeah,
the main team would be on Avowed, and probably people that are interested in survival are doing Grounded. I can't imagine Grounded is like taking their best writers. Although they
Yeah.
did say during the show that Grounded is going to have some of the trademark Obsidian writing and narrative elements. So I'm super
Okay.
curious as to what that means.
They did say that there were secrets to discover in
Yep.
the.
yeah. Grounded also looks a lot further along, so they might have that into like a state where they're happy with it, and now people are moving over to Avowed because
Yeah, it's just interesting that because Grounded is coming into early access essentially.
right.
So
exactly.
we don't know what the team looks like. All right.
Anyway,
So moving on, we have As Dusk Falls. This game was a little weird. We don't really know what it is. It's supposed to be like an interactive drama. Is basically what we've gotten on it. No release window shown. Yeah, this was a bit of a weird looking thing.
With this sort of like watercolor art style. I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah,
It's
like
like
half animated.
3D everything else, which is a really interesting art style that I would like to see succeed in this game, and I hope nothing causes it to crash and burn.
I don't know if I could play a whole game like that. I'm not gonna
Me
lie.
neither.
Yeah, I think the
having the
big thing for
characters
me.
not
Go ahead, Wyatt.
having the characters not be fully animated, I think is kind of a tough sell for me
Yeah.
personally.
That's the hard part.
I don't mind the lack of animation. For me, it's the lip syncing. Like people were talking and the mouths weren't moving, and like I've played visual novels that have that. It's not that crazy to do, and I think it probably would have added a lot. I get they're probably it kind of looks like they're going for a graphic novel aesthetic. I don't know how this is going to do. It's
Yeah, I don't
also
Yeah.
they said this spans a 30-year story.
I don't know about that.
That's long.
That's like
Yeah.
About that one.
I'm super curious as to what that means. But the trailer
I don't know.
told us very little. It's like set in the American Midwest, I think. That's pretty much it.
Probably be a visual novel type game, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the thing where it's like it's kind of odd that this was in the main show
Yeah.
when like a game that had gameplay and was a lot further along, like Balan, was
Yeah,
in the pre-show. It just feels like this could have been swapped to the pre-show
Or even
because there's
What
just so
was the one-
little that we know about this.
or even Exo Mecha, I feel like would have
Yeah, like
Oh, over this in the main show? Hell yeah.
Exo Mecha would have been a great main show game.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was like this is just a weird show. The Ori thing too was a little weird. It didn't really fit in that well. But moving on. I think that's all of the As Dusk Falls talk we'll have. Hellblade 2. Okay, we didn't get any new footage. We just got a thing that was like the game set in
That
Iceland.
trailer still gives me the chills. I'm ready, baby.
Yeah.
I think everyone wants to play Hellblade 2. They don't
I
really
mean,
need to sell us on it.
I'm actually really excited because I'm hoping, just somehow they haven't showed any gameplay, but the trailer is making me believe in some way that it's going to be a little bit less of an introspective game and be a little bit more on the outside of. I think we're going to see a lot more interaction with the outside world. Like there's a big troll dude. Like, do we get to fight big troll dudes? How sick would that be?
Yeah, might be going a little more towards the God of War territory.
Yeah, which
And
I think the first game did its job in telling part of Senua's story, and now we move on to a little bit different kind of game. I think that's great.
And again, this doesn't really feel like it should have been in the main show. This feels like a pre-show thing.
Yeah, they told us nothing
Bizarre.
Oh,
It's just
they just showed B-reel of the
of Iceland.
trailer that came out a long time ago in Iceland.
Yeah, they did announce during this. Announce is a weird word. They told us that there's a dev diary on YouTube that you can watch.
Yeah,
Cool.
Great.
Yeah.
I
that's
really
most
need
of the
to see
talk
that in
about
the main show.
Senua's Saga 2.
I'm
It's just
excited
a
for it, though.
weird little thing. All right, Psychonauts 2 looks really fun. It's Psychonauts.
Jack Black.
Yeah, Jack
He's
Black
there.
did it.
Wow.
Some cool
When
like
When they showed,
psychedelic rock.
oh my god, when they showed Jack Black, I thought it was going to be a Brutal Legends sequel. They got me there. I legitimately thought we were getting another Brutal Legend, but
That would have been wild. But yeah, Psychonauts 2, it's probably going to be really fun. This game's been in development for so long. So it's a little curious. Hopefully it releases in a good state. Comes out in 2021. That's pretty much all the info we have. It's a platformer. It's Psychonauts. It's more of what you would expect. Which is great, because Psychonauts is a great game. Alright, moving on. We got Destiny 2. It's getting an expansion called Beyond Light. I think the really pertinent information here is that Destiny 2 and all of the expansions are coming to Game Pass in September.
I'm still not excited.
So, all right, I have a question about that though. As someone who has the most recent expansion, but not the most recent season pass. So, if I wanted to get everything for free on Game Pass, I would have to. They're probably going to do like an account thing. Like
I'm betting it'll be PC crossplay. I don't see why they would segregate PC audiences for different.
All right,
platforms.
it's just like because I would much prefer to just get everything for free on Game Pass or free in quotations. But does that mean I have to like go through the whole like account thing again? Because I don't.
No clue. Yeah, we don't have any answers yet. So it's coming to Game Pass in September.
I have no mental or physical energy for this game anymore.
The big thing is we don't know if Beyond Light is free. I don't think it is. It didn't sound
it's
like
the next expansion. It's the next.
I mean, for Game Pass. So, because it says coming to Game Pass with all of its expansions, but it's coming in September, which makes me think it's just all the previous stuff. I'm also betting that there's people that get it on Game Pass are not going to have the season pass, so they're still going to be bleeding you dry.
Okay.
The abilities they showed looked cool though, like the freezing stuff looks interesting.
They have backpacks.
Site.
I like the platforming you can do where the guy made like the ice floor on that wall and hop. That's pretty unique. I find it interesting that like when Bungie went to Activision, they had this whole like, oh yes, we are with PlayStation now, and now it's like they've come crawling back, wounded with like they've like lost some of their limbs, they're bleeding out. Please, Microsoft, help! It's like okay.
Microsoft is like, will you make another Halo? Whatever. All right, it was worth a try.
All right, yeah, that's Destiny 2. You can play it already. It's again something that felt kind of weird to be in the main showcase.
Yeah,
Destiny 2 had me bored in the first 3 hours of the game. I don't know.
Same.
That's my opinion.
All right, then
when
we
I got the same gun 3 levels in a row, I was like, all right. all right, I'm gonna go play Borderlands where I actually find guns.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving
Anyway.
on, we had a trailer for Stalker 2.
Stalker 2. Give me that cheeky breeky,
So excited.
boys. Let's go. I'm so excited. Actually, though, I'm like super excited.
Same.
Yeah.
The original, well, I played the one with the mod that everybody played.
I mean, some background
Yeah.
for people that don't know what Stalker is. First, Stalker is a like radioactive horror shooter.
in Chernobyl.
Yeah, in Chernobyl. That came out a long time ago. I think in 2007. Originally,
Yeah, think old at Metro Exodus, but more of focus on exploration. And
Yeah.
stuff.
it had some RPG elements, if I'm remembering correctly.
It did, but they were kind of jank.
Super interesting game. The world, I think, is what people really were interested in. There's so
Yeah,
many
it's
cool
definitely-
things.
Like, it's an old game, but even for an old game, it's got some things going on that are kind of janky.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of like an indie. Well, is it an indie game?
Kind of?
Originally, it was.
I feel like it's kind
This
of like
isn't really
an
indie anymore.
darling. No,
Not
it's not.
anymore,
Because I hope it's something really amazing. But
Also, some important information about this: the trailer they showed was a target render, which means we have no clue how far along this game is. It could be coming out next year. It could be coming out in 5 years. It will be on Xbox Game Pass day one, and we have no release date, no release window. I mean, the target render was really cool. Everything they
Yeah.
showed had me super interested in the setting. It had great tone. It was very Stalker.
I
for
love
lack of a better
how
word.
I was kind of like, ooh, is this a cool new game? And like, I knew it was Chernobyl immediately. But then the bolt, and I was like, Stalker, baby.
We're in. Yeah, I do remember when we were watching it. I was like, "Is this Stalker?" And then I kept second guessing myself, and then I
he
was
threw
like,
the
yeah,
"Okay,
bolt,
it's
and
Stalker."
It's Stalker.
So yeah, that's Stalker 2. Stalker. If the games are on sale, I absolutely recommend picking up the old
Yeah.
games. They're super interesting.
Definitely. And the mod too is
Yeah, the
really
mod is
good.
important.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Fix-
different. It's a different game, honestly. Like it changes it pretty significantly.
All right. So
But
moving
yeah.
on, we have a Warhammer 40,000 Dark Tide.
I like 40K.
It's Vermintide, but 40K. All right.
See, now that sounds really fun.
Yeah, it sounds very fun.
This looks like a cool movie.
Yeah, it does
we
look
didn't
like
get
a movie.
anything else.
We did get a release window of 2021, so presumably this is pretty far in development. Hopefully we see some gameplay soon, because we didn't. This is a running theme with the show, is we've seen gameplay for
Didn't.
Psychonauts, for Grounded, for Outer Worlds, which is already out, for Halo, and that's pretty much it. That's actually it.
Exo Mecha or whatever, if we're gonna count that. had
Yeah, but that's in the
gameplay.
pre-show. This is the weird thing. All the stuff that
Oh.
showed gameplay was in the pre-show.
Oh my god, you're right.
I know.
Weird.
So
Right.
we can kind of know what to expect from this though, because it's a Fat Shark game, so it's probably going to
Yeah.
be very Left 4 Dead-esque.
I
Most
think
likely.
this is one of the more excusable instances of not showing gameplay because we know the gist of this.
Hmm.
I think people that are fans of 40K will absolutely feel at home with this. Vermintide's
I
a
feel
good
like
game.
the more Warhammer games you get, the happier I am, because I am too lazy to get into the tabletop, but I really love
The
the
Warhammer
lore
setting is
stuff.
super interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, so moving on, we saw another weird trailer, Tetris Effect Connected.
So because a bunch of us were watching this when it was being live streamed, and we were just having a constant back and forth of what the heck is this? What's going on?
Yeah, the trailer's super confusing. It's not a bad trailer for Tetris. I get it. I get the whole they're selling the connected thing, the co-op mode. But so from what we know, this is the same as the first Tetris Effect, but with multiplayer, essentially. It's nothing really that new, nothing crazy. The song they played, so people that played the first Tetris Effect recognized it pretty much instantly because it was the same song
Yeah.
as the first Tetris Effect, and it's coming in 2020, so soon.
I would say the best thing about this trailer is that they spelled connect with a C-O and not a K-I. So
Yeah.
well done.
It's a good
Well done,
sign
Connected.
Microsoft.
of the progression of humanity.
Yep.
I
Leaving
think
that dark chapter behind.
I feel like, you know how people say like, oh, after the human race is gone and like nuclear war has killed everyone, like the only thing left is going to be like cockroaches. I feel like the human race could just stop existing and Tetris will still like somehow keep being made. Like,
in
there's
in
just
the
no
rubble,
way.
in the rubble, you hear the muffled sound of the theme song.
Exactly.
There's the muffled rubble. All right. So yeah, again, this is something that just felt kind of out of place in the show.
Yep.
It definitely feels like it probably should have been in the pre-show. It wasn't. So moving on, the Gunk.
Yep.
It's an adventure game filled in a world filled with puzzles and enemies. You have a bunch of goo everywhere. You got to suck it up with your goo sucker. That's
Seems
pretty much all we know. We saw
mildly-
gameplay. We
mildly
saw
interesting.
gameplay. It's by the SteamWorld devs, which all the SteamWorld games are good. So I have some faith that this will be a good game. It's their first 3D thing, so I'm curious on how that turns out. But yeah, it looks interesting.
Good character design. That's something I noticed.
Yeah.
When I was watching, is I like the design a lot.
It's like very industrial.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks interesting. The one thing I'll say about this, it's coming to Game Pass, so I will play it. If it weren't coming to Game Pass, I don't know if I would.
Yes.
It's one of those kind of games where I think the concept isn't selling it for me, like I think they hoped it would, especially with the title being the Gunk. It's not quite selling it as much as I think they wanted it to. So this one, we do have a more specific release window of September 2021. So about a year, and then we'll get the Gunk.
Finally.
Yeah, make sure to get
Finally, I
nice
can
and
get the
clean
Gunk.
so you can get
I'd much
the
rather
Gunk.
play Bug Snacks.
Microsoft has been listening. They know what we want.
Yeah.
And we want the Gunk.
All right, so then
I've
we
wanted the
saw
Gunk for years.
the next game, which is the Medium,
You mean Silent Hill, the movie, the game?
with
Yes.
two
Good.
realities rendered simultaneously. Very important point. Two realities rendered
Right.
simultaneously. They made sure to
that's-
tell us that many times.
And look what we're doing with our new CPU power. We're just double rendering the game.
I mean, it
This
looks
looked really
interesting.
cool. I don't know. I'm
No,
interested.
I agree. Yeah, this could be interesting.
Again, I think
We
my
don't-
biggest issue is the main character basically looks and acts almost exactly like Jesse Faden in the Control trailers. Hopefully, the actual game is not just Jesse Faden 2, Electric Boogaloo, and it's a cool character.
Yeah.
The cover art is very interesting. I'll tell you that much.
The world has so much character. I would be disappointed if the people didn't, because it's
Sure.
very obvious that they put a ton of effort into the aesthetic. Because there's actually a Polish painter that I'm a fan of for some reason that paints exactly like this. That they very obviously like took his style and put it into a game, which is kind of what I've always wanted. So I really hope it's actually good and not just pretty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks pretty good. So we did technically see some gameplay with this. No UI.
Tisk tisk.
Yeah.
That is a kind of game that looks like it might not have a lot of UI.
Also,
Awesome.
this one's holiday 2020, so soon. Yeah, this will probably be a
Yeah.
launch window at least.
Yeah.
Presuming there's
That
no delays.
definitely-
And the interesting thing, so we saw the Medium a long time ago. We saw like a CG trailer, which was not that unique. It was just kind of generic horror. This is
Mhm.
definitely a big step up from that.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Uh,
and from
it
what I
looks
remember,
unique.
this doesn't even have any of the same characters. Like we didn't
Yeah,
see this
yeah.
Jesse Faden lookalike in that other trailer, which is
I think that other trailer was just like it was a target render, most likely.
fair enough.
Yeah, because this is the first gameplay footage of Medium. Looks interesting. Hopefully, I really hope the characters are good, because as much as I love Control, I don't want two Controls. I can
That's
only deal with so much
That is-
straight-laced detective-y.
That is too much control.
Yeah, we don't want to be. Don't be
All
overly
right.
controlled.
Let's see what I
And on that pun, next one.
On that pun, next one. It's a new Genesis Phantasy Star Online 2. This one's super weird because Phantasy
It's
Star
a-
Online 2 is an MMO that just came out in the West a few months ago, but this is not. This has the same name, but it's not the same game. It's a new game, but your characters transfer from the old game, so no one knows what's going on with this anymore. We saw
It looks like a
gameplay.
JRPG.
It's an MMO. Looks fun. I assume it'll be free to play. It's coming in 2021. People that like Phantasy Star are super excited about this. I like Phantasy Star passively, and this looks way better than Phantasy Star 2. And Phantasy Star 2 is a pretty good game. The big jump is that it's got an open world now, and it's not just mission based. So, looks cool. We don't know a ton about it though, and the name is kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's a weird situation. Like, why name this? I've heard a lot of people saying it might be like a Realm Reborn situation where Phantasy Star 2 is just getting like a reboot essentially to this.
Well, I kind of assumed it might be a reference to the Sega Genesis, because wasn't Phantasy Star games coming out on the Sega Genesis? So who knows?
I doubt it, because Sega is pretty hand in hand with Sony for a lot of stuff. Although they're more for both now. Yeah, it looks cool. We don't know a whole lot. Play it when it comes out, I guess. It'll probably be free. Then we saw another weird. Actually, we got two like Asian market MMOs. Crossfire X. I don't know why it's called Crossfire X. I think it's just Crossfire, and this is the campaign. So
it actually looks kind of unique for the Crossfire X campaign.
I'm gonna play it.
Which has Remedy working on the campaign section.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Surprising.
So for people that don't know what Crossfire is, it's a super popular online shooter that just never really made it to North America. So a lot of like North Americans just haven't heard of it. But it's one of the most popular shooters out there. And it's coming to Xbox One and Series X sometime in 2020. I don't know if it's coming to PC. I would assume so, but a lot of these specify they're coming to Windows 10. Some of them don't, just because we're not sure. So I don't know if Crossfire is coming to PC. And we've seen Crossfire before, we just haven't seen the campaign. Looks fun.
No, but it actually looks like a really interesting I mean, for a generic first-person shooter campaign.
Yeah.
But like, I would expect a game like this to have just some like really crappy tack on campaign. But like, you have a cool suit, which isn't in the multiplayer, I don't think.
I would doubt it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just excited to get more like first-person military shooter campaigns.
That's neat.
Because we don't get many of them.
Yeah, because COD burned them down.
COD burned them down. They're doing like this weird future stuff. I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah. COD used to give me the modern military shooters.
I mean, hey, if you want a good one, Modern Warfare 2019 is probably one of the best COD campaigns like ever. So
why? That game is 200 gigabytes.
I'm just saying.
I have it downloaded.
It also features lies and propaganda, which is pretty cool.
Ooh.
I like those in my video game.
Spicy takes.
That's a separate conversation.
This is what happens when you bring up Modern Warfare. Have you learned your lesson?
So
never do it again.
You get 200 gigabytes of content when you bring up Modern Warfare.
Yeah, 200 gigabytes of unoptimized textures. Wonderful.
Yep. Hey.
Okay, let's move on.
Jesus
so we got to see this
Christ.
guy tell us how much we didn't see.
Yeah, we got to see Sea of Thieves, Forza Horizon 4, Gears 5, and a bunch to be optimized for Series X. All right, great. Old games coming to a new console. All right.
Cool.
We already knew all of this. Then we got, I think, the big announcement for a lot of people. There's a new Fable game in development. At the same time, this was a target render. We don't know anything about what this Fable game is. We got no information. We have no clue what the setting is.
Well, it's especially strange because, like, you would assume it's just called Fable. It's been a while. You would assume it's like the traditional kind of Fable RPG, but the last actual Fable game that came out was a Kinect like rail shooter, and then they were working on Fable Legends, which was this really strange, like
it was like an action
asymmetrical
RPG
multiplayer. It was like an asymmetrical multiplayer thing.
Which Fable Legends looked really cool too. I'm kind of sad it got canceled.
I don't even want to think about how sad that is, but. So that's the weird thing is that like the last two Fable projects, even if one wasn't finished, were not traditional Fable games. So is this a traditional Fable game? Is it something different? Like what is this?
Assume
I would assume it is.
It's hard to assume.
For the most part, that it's going to be an RPG.
It seems like a reboot.
I mean, the weird thing with Fable is that the games usually aren't connected anyway. Like Fable 2 is not a sequel directly to Fable 1, and Fable 3 is not a direct sequel to 2. It's more like not quite the Final Fantasy thing, but they take place in the same setting, I believe, just not really related to each other.
Yeah. But I don't know. Why would they name it Fable and like Fable period if they weren't trying to evoke like, oh, this is going to be a little bit more like. the
Well,
original
I
Fable
mean-
game.
I mean,
Look
Fable
at-
skipped
look
a
at-
console generation as well, so Fable
Well,
has
yeah.
not come
Also-
out in the last like 8 years.
Well, I mean, think about it this way. Look at Prey. It was just called Prey, and it was definitely not the original.
True.
So we have no
that's-
idea.
Yeah, I would assume
Yeah,
that it's
great
going to be
shooter.
some form of a fantasy RPG. That's my bet. Feels like a
I
pretty
mean,
safe
yeah.
bet.
Imagine.
We don't know though, because we got no information. But that's the show. That's
That's it.
the
We got
Xbox
a sizzle
showcase.
reel.
We got the end of show sizzle reel. All right, that's everything. That's
That's it.
So
I
can we
think-
talk about Halo now?
first we're
talk
gonna
about
do overall thoughts.
Sorry.
So-
Sorry.
Compared to the Sony game showcase, what's your preferences? What's the roundtable's take? Think Sony did it better? Think Microsoft did their showcase better?
To be honest, I mean, I think Sony did better, but neither one was particularly like knock your socks off. Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
neither console had any like crazy like new IPs that looked really interesting.
we still don't know
like-
the price as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is mind-boggling.
Like this
Well, they're
console
just
comes
waiting-
out in like
yeah.
4 months, and we have no price.
I feel like this is telling me that they're going to be dummy expensive, and neither one of them wants to tell anybody until it comes out, or
I
very
think
near
the
to
big
it.
I think the big thing is that Sony and Microsoft, they're waiting for each other to release
Yeah,
it so they can
That's
undercut them.
true.
yeah,
that's
they're trying to
what's
figure
going
out
on.
how much of a loss they can take according to the undercut price they want to get.
Here's the thing: is that like the common consensus is that Sony had a better show, and for the most part, I would agree. But I think one thing that people are really like overlooking with Xbox's conference is that however you feel about the order of which they like presented things and what they decided to spend their time on. All that aside, everything on here is on Game Pass, and that
Yeah.
really, I think, it was a
Yeah.
huge deal.
Well,
like that's their
they-
ace in the hole right now.
Yeah, well, Xbox.
Well, actually,
Microsoft,
again,
really.
we do not know about the pre-show stuff as of right now.
Well, sure,
Microsoft-
but still, the main show still like that's a huge deal, you know.
I feel like Microsoft a while ago, like a last generation, kind of switched over from trying to make Xbox exclusives, and they're just like, all right, we're just going to keep everything within Microsoft. So PC and Xbox, like they're going for the whole both things. I don't know.
Which
They don't
is
have a lot
which
of
is smart,
console
I think,
exclusives. I
because
think
you
it's
know,
smart because I wouldn't buy half of these games because I'm never going to buy an Xbox. Like,
yeah, and it's like because if Microsoft has their hands in so many different baskets anyway, why not
Yeah,
try and
that's-
utilize that and unify them more?
I mean, that's the main reason I never played Halo until they came out on PCs because I never wanted to buy an Xbox for Halo games.
Yeah.
I mean, and I grew up playing on Xboxes, and even Halo being on them was not enough to get me to buy a One. So, I don't know. I definitely I won't buy a Series X because I have a PC and I just don't really have the space for an Xbox, and it's probably going to be
Yeah.
expensive as all hell.
Yeah, I'm not going to have the money for both. A PS5
and I
and
certainly
a
I
Series X.
want to play my PS5 exclusives. Like Miles Morales is
Yeah.
a system
yeah.
seller. Like
Honestly,
I feel like that's the big thing is that the Sony showcase had system sellers. The
Yeah,
Microsoft
this one
showcase
did
has
not.
system sellers for Game Pass. So I think
Yeah,
this
but
is a great reason to pick up Game Pass.
Yeah.
Not
And
a super
even-
convincing way to pick up an Xbox.
that's what I'm
and-
saying
and-
is that they've just changed their marketing strategy. They're trying to sell Game Pass, not Xbox
Yeah.
Ones necessarily.
And even one thing I do like is that I almost everything on here, from what I understand, is also available on Xbox. Hold on.
Xbox.
Yeah, Xbox
One.
on Xbox One. Like they're making a huge push of trying to have all these games.
Yeah,
be
so
on
the
their
only
older
stuff
hardware.
we're not certain if it'll be on Xbox One is stuff like Avowed, where we don't have a release date.
Yeah, but it's a really good, you know, it's a great thing, I think, because it helps people transition into the new generation a lot more. You know, like you're not being immediately left in the dust, and I think that's going to be valued by a lot of people.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the PlayStation 5 doing basically that or no?
There
there is a
sort
lot
of.
of
So
backwards compatibility. No, obviously, I
PlayStation
don't
5 has more of a cutoff. So with Xbox Series X, a lot of these games are also coming to One. So like Halo is going to be on an Xbox One as well.
Mhm.
Oh, so they're
um,
making like dedicated Xbox
Yeah.
One.
So it's
for-
Xbox One, Xbox One X, Series X, as well as Windows 10. That's where Halo is going to be on. But for Sony, I
Uh-huh.
don't believe Miles Morales is going to be on PS4s.
Yeah,
It's just going to
Sony's-
be PS5.
Sony
Oh
stopped.
no, I was
developing
I don't know why. I was
PS4
thinking
games.
backwards compatibility.
Yeah, the PS5 can play PS4 games.
Yeah.
So it is backwards compatible. It's just like it's not going to be a situation where the PS4 can play early PS5 games.
Right. It's
Yeah.
the problem when your friends all buy a PS5 and you
Yeah.
still have your PS4. You
And I
can't
think
play
you
with them
can
now.
look at that in a few different ways. It can be like Sony's just not supporting their older consoles. At the same time, a good thing that was brought up recently on Twitter was that having that cutoff does let devs take full advantage of the new console and not
Yeah.
need to design with older stuff in mind. Like Spider-Man, so this is a pretty famous thing with the first Spider-Man game, is that the swing speed had to be limited because the PS4 could not stream in the city assets fast enough. So there's an artificial like speed limit for Spider-Man. I'm really hoping that's gone for the new one because they're touting these SSDs and the faster transfer
Yeah.
speeds.
Mhm.
Really hoping that's where that comes into play. I mean, you can actually go crazy.
The
With the
first one
speed.
was really good, but imagine how much better it would be if you could
Yeah.
really keep your momentum. Like,
Yeah.
And I feel like that might be where some of the Halo Infinite stuff is coming in, as to where it looks the way it does because it has to run on Xbox One.
yeah.
They can't get
Okay.
too crazy with like how the world works,
People-
or it just won't work on current gen stuff.
I swear the average commenter is the worst man alive. Just everybody. I was watching the YouTube stream again, just like to refresh my memory while we were doing this, and just like looking at the comments, the live chat replay. Everybody's like, "Stop showing us cartoon games. Give us real graphics." And I'm like, "Stop."
What does it even mean?
Dude, I would rather have
Well,
cartoon games.
They're all just like, the graphics are garbage. And I'm like, the games are not all about graphics, you know? Like,
So dumb.
yeah, it's and the other thing to keep in mind too is that I think Xbox is I think their future is really, really bright right now. Like I think they're transitioning out of their Xbox One sort of period where they didn't have a lot of great exclusives, it wasn't marketed properly, but I think they have so many good studios under their belt right now that I think this generation they're going to come out a lot stronger. And I don't think they're showing it right now, but they have so many talented people working for them now, and a lot of these games that we've seen, even if we didn't see a lot of it, look promising or are continuations of games that we
Yeah.
love.
And
So
they
I
did
think
announce
yeah,
we're
they're gonna
getting
have
another
a much
game showcase this year.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
both in quality and quantity. I mean, what were the launch titles for the Xbox One X? The one that I can remember is Recore, and that didn't end up
Yeah.
so well.
I mean, the reality is both the PS4 and the Xbox One had some iffy launch titles. And they also were pretty hurt by the lack of backwards compatibility, which is not going to be a problem with this coming generation. So hopefully there's more incentive to like get a new thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the way I see it right now, Microsoft is trying to be like, if you have a PC, buy Game Pass. If you don't, but you still want to use Game Pass, buy an Xbox. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
they're covering such a wide area because
They
now
really
what
are.
they're because they have XCloud on the way too, and that's going to reach a
Yeah.
whole other group of people that doesn't have enough money to buy a console or a PC, and now they have XCloud. It's like I really like their.
We'll do the
approach.
XCloud
They're
talk
trying to
later
make
because
their
Brett
games-
got cut off
Yeah.
earlier. I want to hear what Brett was gonna say.
Well, I just think, first of all, in general, at least in my opinion, I think in terms of like compared to past E3s and things, I think the Xbox and PlayStation shows are both pretty boring.
Yeah,
But I guess like everyone was expecting like a big thing, but like even stuff like, oh my god, a new Halo game. It's been how long since like a new one? And I was like, okay. And then I with the whole Xbox covering like a lot of bases thing, I think that's kind of the smarter way to go, because it's just like when your product is accessible to like literally everyone that has some sort of technology and internet connection, it's like it's just more fun for like all the people, and like you make like a crap load of money, but that just means more people can play together. And I love that I can play now with people that are on PC that I never could play with before because I
Absolutely.
don't have all that cash to drop on a new PC. And I think because what I was gonna say when I popped in for a second there is that the launch in general for this past generation has been like terrible in every way.
Absolutely.
Like launch PS4s and Xboxes are like hilariously loud, and like I'm surprised mine can run Ghost of Tsushima. I think the smart decision, considering how expensive these might be, would be to just like wait like a couple months until they release like the Xbox One S
Yeah.
equivalent.
Especially because we're going into like a global recession right now.
Yeah.
Which is a
Yeah,
little
but I got
concerning.
that money. No.
So it's going to be an interesting time for a new
It is.
console generation.
Hey,
I
recession's a
wonder
perfect
how
time.
much of a cut, like pay loss, these companies are willing to take, because consoles
Yeah.
almost always release at a loss for the company.
Mhm.
I mean,
So
I-
I'm curious as to what the loss is going to be here.
I feel like they're both about looking to sell at some big old losses.
Yeah, entertainment is also the
Xbox-
least affected right now out of most industries, so they're looking
know.
okay. I just think like for the launch title thing, the only console that really had a strong launch recently was the Switch, and even then it had a
Yeah.
strong launch
Yeah.
and then like nothing for 6 months.
And really, it had a great launch because of one game. Like,
I mean, a few
and
games.
that
We got
game,
Disgaea.
and that's the
There
thing.
were a few
That game, that launch game was good enough to like really hold the Switch over until more stuff came out. But no, like at least from what I remember, no one else was talking about a lot of the other launch titles. I think.
Yeah,
don't know.
that Breath of the Wild definitely overshadowed everything, but like I'm not getting that vibe from Halo Infinite.
No.
No,
Like
it's
what they
just
showed me of
another
Halo
game.
Infinite is not unique enough to make me think like I need to buy this console right now. Then again, I don't think that was Microsoft's goal. So I'm fine with what they showed. I want to see more Halo Infinite, because reality is we don't really know what the game is still. We don't know if it's open world. We don't know if it's like a live service thing.
It's supposed to be
Mhm.
open world.
Yeah, but like we haven't seen any of that.
It's yeah.
There were the map showed up on the screen.
Yeah, but like again, that could just
But,
be a
but,
map.
but
of a
even
level.
then, it's unclear if it's like a giant
Yeah.
connected open world,
like a
or if it's
semi-open
more
world.
like, or if it's more like here's
like a
your
Destiny
main
deal or
objective.
something.
Yeah, like here's a big like area of operations. It's this big sandbox, but they're not all connected
Like,
together.
I'd be
Oh.
okay with either. I just want to know.
I would much rather a smaller. It's a I don't know. It's a first person shooter.
It's yeah. I don't think
Yeah.
Halo really belongs in an
In
open
the
I
world
mean,
setting.
I don't. Here's the thing.
If I
don't
have to skin
really.
animals,
I go ahead.
it's like if I've got to treat this like a Far Cry game, I'm gonna have issues. But I doubt that'll
Right.
be
Yeah.
the game loop.
No.
I don't really blame them for going in this direction though, because Halo. It's so funny. Like Halo 1 had such a crazy development cycle, like Combat Evolved, because it started as an RTS, and then it transitioned into this kind of strange, like tactical open world adventure style thing, and then they were bought by Microsoft and turned it into a first person shooter in like a year. So I feel like if it is more open ended, like whether it's larger levels or like a giant open world, I feel like that's probably because of that's what Halo was originally, and they probably wanted to invoke a lot of that. So I don't blame them for going in that direction, but I don't know if it's exactly what I want.
Yeah.
Personally.
And again, I think the biggest issue here is that there's so little gameplay for any of these games
Mhm.
that it's hard to attach to something and say like I really want to play that. It's like I want to play Grounded, but Grounded's out in 2 days, so I don't need to wait for an Xbox One X, and it's on Game Pass, so I don't have to pay for it, which is great.
Yeah.
And like I want to play Avowed, but I don't know what Avowed looks like. I didn't see any gameplay.
Don't know when it's coming out.
Psychonauts is coming out in a year, maybe, and we saw gameplay, but like I want to get that game in my hands. It's just like I don't see any super strong launch titles for this, really, aside from Halo. And even then, Halo you can play on your Xbox One.
Yeah.
But again, yeah, it's fine if that's Microsoft's tactic. I think they're doing that right. It's just this showcase was probably some of this stuff should have been shuffled around. There's definitely some weird decisions with like Tetris Connected. I don't
Yeah.
think anyone's buying an Xbox One to play Tetris.
Yeah.
As cool as Tetris Effect is of a game, it's not a system seller. The Outer Worlds it probably isn't a system seller. Like there's very little here that is like Xbox's brand.
I wonder if a lot of it comes down to the confusion of like, because I get the impression now that they don't want. I mean, obviously they don't just want the Xbox console anywhere. They want Xbox as this massive ecosystem. But
Yeah.
when you say the word Xbox and you think Xbox, you think of their console, and their focus has definitely shifted away from that. But I think I think they just haven't communicated that properly.
I don't know.
Because
When I
if you
think of
look at
Xbox
this-
now, I think of Game Pass. To be honest, I think it's just because like I don't have an Xbox One.
but I
Never
think
have.
a lot of people don't still. And because like I feel like you have to start looking at anything Xbox related as this ecosystem now, and
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
a box that you put under your TV. And I think a lot of people are having a hard time understanding that, which is understandable because I don't think Microsoft has been very clear on that either. They're definitely doing it, but they're not. I don't think they're portraying that in the way that they brand themselves very well, if that makes sense.
And there is one thing about Hellblade 2 I want to mention. They did say in the brief thing we saw that they are developing on Unreal 5, which is
Ooh.
great, but that does kind of give us a date as to when they would have started development. So that game is probably pretty far off.
Yeah, that's a good
Hellblade
point.
2 is
Yeah.
not coming out soon. Because if they're porting things, I don't know how easy the process would be to port from Unreal 4 to 5. If it's anything like the process from 3 to 4, it's basically going to be a nightmare. So this game is probably not coming out for a while. I'm excited to
Boy.
see someone utilizing Unreal 5, though. So yeah, that's the Hellblade situation. I have faith in Ninja Theory, though, so long as they're
I do
not
too.
doing more Bleeding Edge.
Oh,
Give
Yeah.
me some of those, Unreal 5 tech demo gravel physics.
Oh yeah. Dude, Hellblade's gonna have that Icelandic gravel physics.
Oh, dude, that
Oh.
Icelandic gravel.
hey man, as someone who's actually been to Iceland, it's pretty good gravel. Yeah.
Weird flex, but okay. Yeah, I think I come out of this show just being like, Sony got me excited about PS5, even if I think it looks a little weird. It's like a strange console. We saw a lot of very Sony properties.
Oh, bug snacks.
Yeah, like Bug Snacks,
Talking
Bug
about
Snacks.
Are we
Um,
talking about bug snacks right now?
Talking about bug snacks.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. We're talking Bug Snacks talk before we start mentioning Caro Caro Bonito, because then we're gonna have a nightmare. All right. So yeah, I think the Sony showcase definitely did a better job of selling a console. Xbox probably did a fine job of selling a brand.
Yeah.
It's just I feel I still come off of this feeling so weird because we saw so little gameplay of anything, whereas most of Sony's stuff we saw gameplay. The only stuff we didn't is like the stuff that's very clearly super far off. So yeah, it's just
It's
a situation.
frustrating.
um
Because often you have a situation where like the CG trailer that they show off isn't really part of the game. Like it's not a cutscene in the game at all. So you wonder, it's like the time that you spent to make this CG trailer look absolutely like spot on gorgeous is time you could have spent.
Well, I mean, a
making
lot of the
something that
time,
was
so
more-
these target renders are often put out to a different company.
Mhm.
So, like, the Stalker 2 target render probably didn't take much of the company's resources, aside from money. So, it's not really a good indicator of how far along the game is, but it does put that question of, like, okay, all we have for Fable is this title screen drop. It's essentially the Elder Scrolls 6 announcement, right? Where
Yeah.
this game could be out anywhere in the next, like, 20 years. We just don't know. Because we have no metric to measure how far along this stuff is. And I think a lot of what Sony showed was further along, and we had a lot of concrete dates for things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we saw a lot of launch titles as well. Like, it wasn't just Miles Morales as a launch title. We
That's
saw a
true.
lot of stuff that is soon and is going to be coming out in the near future. Whereas with this, like Forza, we don't have a date for Forza, which is bizarre. Darktide, we have no clue. Stalker 2, we have no clue. Even Psychonauts 2, we have a year. We don't have a month. As Dusk Falls, we have no information at all. Avowed, no information. It's the stuff we know about, like Grounded and Tell Me Why, are things that are coming out in the next month.
Don't forget about the Gunk in September of next year.
The
No,
gunk.
The gunk.
Number 9.
But yeah, I'm just it's curious to me that we're getting so little confirmation of anything. Like this entire show seemed very non-committal.
It just makes you wonder. It's like why? Like why even say anything at all.
Yeah.
If because like it's almost like, well, then they can open up pre-orders, but it's not like they opened up pre-orders for Fable. It's not like they're going to be getting any extra money out of this. Like, what's even
Yeah.
the point?
Yeah, because it's all on Game Pass anyway, so you don't have a reason to pre-order things because it's on Game Pass. You can just get Game Pass. So it's this bizarre situation of like Sony, I think, showed the show they needed to. With Microsoft, it's just this weird deal of what's coming out when. Why are we seeing so many target renders and CG trailers? It's a strange situation we're in.
I think they had this idea of all this stuff is coming to Game Pass anyway, so no matter what we show off, it almost doesn't matter because there's going to be a lot of people that play it anyway because they're already on Game Pass.
Because I honestly
So
think
it's almost like
yeah. Go ahead.
it's just almost like it almost doesn't matter what they show off because, well, it's on Game Pass. You're probably going to play it anyway, so
Yeah.
who cares what we actually show?
Yeah, it's like I knew about Grounded already because it's on Game Pass. I didn't need to see a trailer for it. With Sony, I think they have the benefit. Well, not with Sony. So with Nintendo, you have directs at E3, and I feel like pretty much every E3 Nintendo Direct we've gotten has been more interesting than these two shows. I like where I would place this Microsoft showcase right now is like somewhere on the scale of Nintendo Directs. It's just not. There's not a lot of substance here.
Yeah.
There's a ton of announcements. It's just, yeah. Also, we did talk about during the show. They spent a lot of time on people talking.
I forgot about
Every
that.
Yeah, every
show,
game had
every
people
show,
talking.
I actually forgot
every
about
show has had that. It's
Not the Sony show. The Sony show had like people talking for
Yeah.
maybe 2 minutes total.
Yeah.
The Sony show is well paced, as is most of the Nintendo Direct stuff that you have. This one, it's clumped talking, and then everything's rapid fire. Whatever. World premiere.
Yeah, and then you get like 10 minutes of the devs talking about like, look at all these like mechanics. You can see them on the screen, but I'm talking about them, so you really remember them. even though
Yeah,
you'll
I
forget them
remember
talking
being
right
super frustrated with Everwild because as soon as Everwild's trailer ended, the woman that came on screen just started describing what we just saw, and I was like, I just
Exactly.
watched the trailer.
See,
I don't need you to tell
Alex-
me this.
Alex did bring up something that Xbox has that Sony doesn't. That kick-ass announcer. I
That's
didn't
true.
see
Yeah.
any awesome deep-voiced announcer in Sony's camp. That's all I'm saying.
How else do we know that's a world premiere if we aren't told? You're right.
I get
Exactly.
tired of that voice. I got tired of that voice really fast, though. It's like,
Oh,
yeah,
I never do.
Yeah.
I never will.
I mean, that world premiere voice, usually when it's used at like E3, is I think a little better because it's paced out over like an hour and a half
Yeah.
show,
it's
and
fairly-
people come on and you expect them to talk.
Mm.
So you get like that hit of world premiere, and then you're like,
Yeah.
whoa.
We also, and to be fair, they did deliver on the promise of Phil Spencer in a gamer shirt. You
They
can't
did,
have an
they
Xbox
did.
showcase without him in his gamer shirt, and they had it in full display, and it was beautiful.
He looked a
We
lot
have to-
less like tired / high than the last few appearances he's done on different shows.
Yeah,
Um,
he kept his composure and his gamer shirt. We have to, hats off to Microsoft because at least they were able to keep that. You know? Well done.
I don't know. It was again. I don't think this was a bad show. It was just. It feels so weird that we saw so much gameplay in the pre-show.
Yep.
Like everything in the pre-show had gameplay, and then
And then none.
the main show we had so many CG trailers. Like State of Decay 3. I feel like that doesn't even need to be announced yet
Yeah, really.
because we don't know anything. Like it's pretty easy to assume they're working on State of Decay 3 because that's what Undead Labs does. They do State of Decay, and they just got bought by Microsoft, so they're having a great time. But why do we get this announcement? Like, what's the point? Because it's a weird target render.
Yeah.
So
So something I was thinking about too is that they have like so blue balled us on Halo Infinite where like they'll show us these CGI things
Yep.
and just never show any gameplay. I was wondering when I was watching this, I was like, what if they just saved the Halo Infinite reveal until this showcase? They had because that opening
would've
teaser
been
with
great.
him holding his helmet, that was like a great reveal that it was a Halo game because no one knew it was during that first little like teaser, which was great. And then they opened with gameplay. I just feel like
But at the same time, that
I would have
also
pissed myself.
yeah. That also brings back the question of like, why are we seeing footage from January?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's now, you have 7 months, right, between then and now, to have recorded some new footage with the lighting fixed and everything. So I'm just confused as to why it took this long, and we didn't get new footage.
And not a word on multiplayer either.
This
Yeah.
is 343. These are the people that decided to put a team specifically of people that dislike Halo to work on a Halo game. I don't trust them anymore, and I don't think even they really know what they're doing. And that's a good thing that you bring up, Wyatt. Like, I would argue that, like, yeah, like Halo has really good campaigns, and for the people that played them, they all love them. But like the thing that's kept it alive this whole time is probably the multiplayer.
Absolutely,
Like,
because there's nothing
and
like
there
Halo
hasn't been-
multiplayer.
Exactly. There hasn't been a single thing about it. And if it's an open world game, like, is the multiplayer going to be separate? Do I have to like fly the Pelican over to the War Games Coliseum where
Dude,
the
if I have to
holographic
go
map
talk
comes up?
to Ikora Ray at the tower to trigger my quest to do multiplayer, I'm gonna be so
And
angry.
Here's the other thing too. 343 they've confirmed that this is the last Halo like release for a while because they're just going to be adding more content onto
Yeah.
Infinite.
Okay.
Knowing what they're doing.
Which again, like, I don't know what that means. What does that
Yeah.
mean?
Well, it just what that says immediately to me is live service, which I'm
Mhm.
terrified of if that's the case.
But like
Sounds
this,
more and more like Destiny.
at the
every
same
single
time, like,
month.
I don't
Yeah.
want to customize.
Yes.
Like, a lot of live service monetization and stuff is customizing your character. I don't want to customize Master Chief. I
It's
want to play Master Chief, and that's what he looks like. So
Well, they have a whole upgrade screen now, so we'll see what happens with that.
here's the thing. I haven't. Wait, Alex, were you gonna say something?
Look, you can go first.
Okay. Here's the thing I haven't understood from the start. It's an open world game. You play as Master Chief. Master Chief is like there's only one, and there's only one Spartan that looks like Master Chief. Are you gonna like see other Master Chiefs around? And if you like, it's an open world game, and if there's gonna be multiplayer, like you said, Master Chief's armor doesn't change unless there's like a style change for the whole game.
Well,
There's just so much that doesn't make sense in my brain.
Well, I haven't any reason to assume that they're trying to combine campaign
Yeah.
and multiplayer. I do know that they're bringing back split screen co-op, so well
Which is
done.
good.
which is
Thank
good.
you for that.
Yeah, that's great.
But I don't know. Like in terms of like what like they're adding on more content. Like, does that mean we're getting a full story at launch, or is it going to be something that's like parsed out over?
Dude, I swear, if
months
this ends
and
up being like a
years.
year-long story, I'm gonna be so upset. My interest level in Halo will just vanish completely if that's what happens. I doubt it. I don't think 343 is that short-sighted.
I would laugh so hard.
I'm betting a lot of the stuff we're gonna get is just like this will be a platform for multiplayer updates. Because I feel like the reason they're holding the multiplayer back has to be because there's some blowout they're gonna do with it. Like the multiplayer,
imagine
there's got to be
launching-
something special.
Imagine it launching without it, and it gets added later. That's such a 343 thing to do.
I mean,
It's
they're all
so much a
they,
343
they've
thing to do.
confirmed that Forge. I think they've confirmed that Forge isn't going to be available at launch again.
Okay, but what's going to happen is this. I can see the multiplayer reveal. It's literally just a black screen, and then somebody says SWAT, and then boom, done.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you need. And then there won't be any explanation. That's it.
And then the logo comes up.
And in their defense, you know, Halo 5 didn't launch with Forge, but Halo 5, when it did get Forge, was probably like the most in-depth iteration of Forge ever. Like, it was a great Forge edit
Yeah, it
for
was
5. Like,
scary
it was
complex.
astounding, like just how much you could change. I don't know. I think I'm more optimistic than most because I'm coming from the perspective of someone that doesn't hate 4 and doesn't hate 5 for very different reasons, but I don't hate those games. And
I had a lot of fun with 4. I never played 5 though. So I
Remember
just
back
don't
in the
own a
day when
console
a
to play it
game
on.
would release with like the whole game?
Dude,
Right?
Like, there
Incredible.
wasn't, you
Well,
wouldn't
you
get
see,
like whole ass
you s-
features later.
you say that, but the idea of being able to add content onto a game post launch in and
No,
of
that's
itself is
very
not a
cool.
bad thing. Yeah.
but Ford
it's how it's
was
been used.
in the game when it came.
I mean, and
to
also
the-
from a developer perspective, adding content onto your game forever is not necessarily what you want to do, because like that then
No,
puts you in the situation where if a game succeeds, you have an easy money machine. But what if, like, as developers, you want to work on a new project, right?
Exactly.
And I'm just
No,
like, I feel bad for the companies because now they're being forced
Yeah.
into this funnel of
Mhm.
work on this thing, keep going on this thing.
like actually, I played Escape from Tarkov. If you didn't know, but those guys have been working on that game for so long. Like you gotta. There's definitely a point where you want to move on.
Yeah.
Like 10 years on one game is a long
It's
time.
insane.
Yeah, that's
I
like
can- I
that's
can
a
imagine that,
significant
I
portion
can-
of your
I-
life.
Yeah, I can imagine that CD Projekt Red is probably fucking sick of Cyberpunk at this point and wants to move on.
Yeah, that game needs to come out, and then they need to not touch it. But we know
I'm
they're going
sick
to touch it
of
because they're doing
Cyberpunk.
multiplayer. So
They're doing some kind of
Doing
multiplayer.
multiplayer, they're doing DLC. It's they're
Yeah.
they're gonna keep it
Well,
going.
I mean, they make big games.
yeah.
That's what they do.
All right. Well, I think we've about wrapped up our discussion of all the elements of this show. We'll inevitably end up talking more about it on other podcast episodes because that's what happens. It's
Yeah.
impossible. It's like Star Wars. We have to mention it at least once every podcast. See, I had to sneak it in there somewhere.
Good meme. Good meme.
So we have a segment on the show we do at the end. It's called Shoutouts. Woo. Yay. Everyone's so happy and excited to start their shoutouts.
So,
Woo.
Who's ready? Who's ready?
I'm not.
I'll go.
All right.
Shout out to the band Dorothy. They make some kick-ass rock music, and you should go
Nice.
check them out.
I will. I
Yes,
like rock
they're-
music.
They're fantastic.
Sounds neat. All right. Someone else ready to step up to the plate?
Shout out to my Switch being able to turn on after giving me quite a long scare.
Oh no.
Hell yeah!
Don't worry, that
I'm glad he's
Nintendium's
okay.
gonna come through for you.
Mm.
Indestructible.
God.
Aside from the
Um,
Joy-Con drift, you know.
Listen, we don't talk about that.
Don't mention that; it's blacklisted. You sounded ready, Brett.
Shout out to Audacity for breaking and making me have to go through so many other audio recording programs on my computer only for me to come right back to Audacity and have it work perfectly.
That's how it
Wonderful.
goes.
It was a saga.
All right, Ben. You've had a lot of time. You ready?
Shout out to my cast iron pan because that thing is amazing. I fucking love cast iron.
Hell yeah!
Ooh, that's a
Hell
good
yeah.
shout out. All right, I got to give a shout out to 5D chess with multiverse time traveling
Oh my
because
God,
I cannot
so
believe it's a
bad.
real game. And it's not a joke. Nothing about this game is a joke. And I need to like record myself playing this because it's ludicrous. You end up
can we
playing like
play
8
against them?
simultaneous games of chess and then
They should
teleporting
use
your
that-
pieces to different timelines. It's wild.
They should quote you when they market the game. It's just nothing about this is a joke.
Dude, I feel like that's literally every Steam review for the
radio.
game. That's every single Steam review for the game is like, I cannot believe that nothing in this game is a joke. Like, you say that title and it's funny. And then I can say a sentence like, I'm sending my knight to a parallel universe to defeat their queen that they sent back to the past. And nothing
you
in
can
that
beat it.
sentence is a joke.
It sounds like, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like a running joke in a Rick and Morty episode or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
It's wild. There are videos of people playing it, and just watch someone try to play that game for the first time. It's hilarious because there's no tutorial.
I don't think it needs one. I think it's better that way.
It honestly
The
is.
tutorial is the title.
The puzzle, the
Yeah.
game is trying to figure out how to play the game. So you don't know, and it's so much fun. All right, that was a
Watching the trailer on
long-winded
Steam
shout
right
out.
now, I don't know what's happening.
It's so confusing.
I'm buying it. I bought it.
I absolutely
I need
recommend
to play
checking it
it.
out. I'll play you in multiplayer,
Yeah.
but
All right, let's
we'll
go.
figure it out.
All right.
Yeah, that's the show. We're gonna do an outro because we got music now. You can find the show every Monday morning on Anchor and on YouTube. Usually around 7 a.m. I say usually around. We schedule it. It's at 7 a.m. There's no question mark there.
It's always at 7 a.m. on the dot.
Generally, we record live on Twitch, twitch.tv/megamatch, at 8 p.m. on Sundays, Eastern Time.
Ish.
Woo. We did the outro bit. Anyone want to shout out anything else before we go? You know, it's a loose podcast. We're hitting the time markers for ending.
I played drunk golf with your friends last night.
And that's our cue for the outro.
So much fun. So much fun. It was very fun until I made it to the Jägermeister, and then I was I couldn't see the hole.
Golf with Your Friends is on Game Pass now. Everyone should check it out.
Townscaper. That's a fun game.